for Real Madrid.
August 26th, 2026. José Mourinho walks out at the Bernabéu for the first time since returning, and Real Madrid smash Real Sociedad 4-1. The main man? Of course, Mbappe. A hat trick, Vinícius adds another goal, and Bellingham gets 2 assists. After 2 rounds, Mourinho has 6 points out of 6. Mourinho is back, and he has instantly unlocked Mbappe. There is just one problem. Mbappe did not need to be brought back at all. Last season, he scored 42 goals in 44 matches, won his second consecutive Pichichi, and finished as the Champions League's top scorer. The real question is different. What exactly is Mourinho changing around Mbappe? It looks like he is making the Frenchman the main virtual reference point of the attack, allowing him to drop towards the ball. Bellingham links the play underneath him, Vinícius stretches the left flank, and the whole team tries to move the ball forward before the opposition has time to reorganize. The irony is that Mourinho himself says it directly. He is not building Real Madrid around Mbappe alone. So how can both things work at the same time? Let's start with what Mourinho has actually done with the position of his biggest star. On the tactics board, it looks simple. Mbappe is the central striker in a 4-2-3-1. But on the pitch, Mourinho does not force him to stay between the 2 center backs all the time. If Real cannot build out properly from the back, Kylian has the freedom to drop deeper, receive the ball, combine with Bellingham, and only then attack the box again. After the win over Sociedad, Mourinho explained it simply.
He's not just a goal scorer or the typical forward waiting for the team's offensive play to score.
The best example is the second goal. Mbappe moves away from the last line, combines with Jude, and just a few seconds later he is already bursting into the box facing the goal. And that matters. For Mbappe, it is much more dangerous to run at a defender with speed than to spend the whole move fighting him with his back to goal. So it creates a kind of freedom within the number 9 position. Move away from the center so you can then return to it at speed. To be fair, Xabi Alonso had already called Mbappe a dynamic striker rather than a classic target man, and used him deeper as a second striker or playmaker. So the change does not seem to be the idea itself. Mourinho is trying to make it part of a clearer structure around Mbappe. Okay, but if Kylian gets that kind of freedom, where do Vinícius and Bellingham go? Real Madrid's main problem is that Mbappe, Vinícius, and Bellingham all want to influence the game around the box. Before the start of the season, Mourinho admitted,
"It's obvious that I can't build the team around each of them."
As I see it, he is not choosing one of the 3. He is trying to separate their features. Vinícius starts wider on the left and stretches the defense. Mbappe remains the central threat and attacks the space between or behind the defenders. And Bellingham operates underneath them, linking attacks, making runs into the box, and being the first to press. The Sociedad match showed this almost perfectly. The second goal, a combination between Jude and Mbappe. The third, Bellingham wins the ball right inside the box and sets up Vinícius. The fourth, Vini himself sends Mbappe in behind. So each star helps the next one create a more comfortable situation. And one important point, Mourinho is not sacrificing Vinícius for Mbappe. The Brazilian extended his contract until 2032, started both matches, and against Sociedad produced a goal plus assist. It looks like the idea is different. Give each of them their own starting zone, so they stop constantly fighting for the same area of the pitch. But even perfect positioning is useless if Mbappe receives the ball too late. And this is where perhaps the most familiar trait of the old Mourinho appears. Look at Mbappe's first goal against Sociedad. Valverde gets the ball deep and does not wait for Real to calmly set up. He immediately drives forward and finds Mbappe while the defenders are still running back towards their own goal. That is when Kylian is especially dangerous, when the defense is forced to retreat. And Mourinho's verticality does not necessarily mean a long counterattack starting from his own penalty area. The third goal actually starts near the opposition goal. Bellingham presses, wins the ball back, and a moment later, Vinícius scores. Real had already been actively working on that immediate counterpress after losing possession in preseason against Ferencváros. Sounds familiar? Under Mourinho, Madrid's 2011-12 side reached 100 points and scored an incredible 121 goals in La Liga. Ronaldo scored 46, while Ozil, Di Maria, Benzema, and Xabi Alonso helped the team punish opponents instantly whenever they lost their structure. But let's be clear. Mbappe is not the new Ronaldo in the exact same system. Cristiano usually started from the left. Kylian now starts centrally. The Mourinho principle I see is simple. See the space. Do not give the opponent time to close it. And it looks like this modern Real Madrid are trying to create exactly those moments for Mbappe as often as possible. Sounds great, but there is one problem. So far, we have only seen it in 2 official matches. Mourinho has managed Real Madrid in only 2 official matches, and the first one did not look like some new attacking machine at all. Against Espanyol, Madrid won 2-1 only thanks to SB's 90th minute goal, while Mbappe and Vinícius were still lacking match rhythm. Even against Sociedad, the rout only began after the break. In the first half, Real made mistakes under pressure, allowed the opposition to counterattack, and even heard whistles from the Bernabéu. And there's an even more important question. Sociedad themselves tried to play football and left space. But what happens when an opponent gives Real 65 to 70% of the ball, puts 8 players behind the ball, and simply refuses to let Mbappe run into space? Then Mourinho's verticality could lose its main advantage. And there is something else. Most of these new ideas already existed under Xabi Alonso. Mbappe was already a dynamic number 9, Vini started wider, and all the stars were expected to take part in the press. So after 2 matches, we can confidently say what Mourinho is trying to build. But can we say he has already built a system around Mbappe? Not yet. The real test will begin when an opponent simply refuses to give the Frenchman space. So is Mourinho really building Real Madrid around Mbappe? Not exactly. Jose himself has said directly that he cannot build the team separately around Mbappe, Vinícius, or Bellingham. But it does look like he is building the attack around Kylian's strongest qualities. Mbappe remains the central threat, but he can drop towards the ball. Vinícius stretches the left flank and creates space. Bellingham connects them and helps win the ball back high up the pitch. And the job of players like Valverde is to move the ball forward exactly when the defense is still not ready. So I would put it like this. Mourinho is not building around Mbappe's ego. He is building around his weapons. And that really does resemble his old Madrid. The moment the opponent loses balance, attack immediately. But 2 matches prove only the intention, not a finished system. The next real test is whether this Real Madrid can make Mbappe just as dangerous when there is simply no space for him to run into.